Okay, I need the mic on. Hello everybody! I am no longer the not-so-Mormon. I am now the not-so-serious. After thinking about it a little while, I realized I could actually get in trouble for the school I'm going to for saying that I'm not-so-Mormon when I go to a Mormon college. Like, I think there is a possibility that I could get a strike, or you get 3 strikes and then you get kicked out. I could get a strike if the school found out, so I changed it to Not So Serious because the original title, The Not So Mormon, is a joke. Basically, the reason that I wanted to do Not So Mormon, because going to this Mormon college made me realize of, like, how many different types of, like, Mormons there are, and how, like, excluded they can make you feel. Such as, like, oh, we're better than you, like, we're better Mormons, and other people being like, you know, I don't really care, and then the other Mormons who are like, we're gonna go smoke pot in the back of the church, you wanna come? But there's just so many different types, and a lot of them can be judgmental, and so it just made me feel like I wasn't even part of the same religion. It was kind of like a joke to me, because I like jokes, I'm not a very serious person. To me, the Not So Mormon was kind of a personal thing to me. But other people, I could see it being offensive or whatever. People are overly sensitive these days. But so basically the meaning of it was to be a joke, and so I changed it to Not So Serious so that I won't get in trouble. Alright, so for today, I actually wanted to talk to you about my experience when I was getting married. So Mormons up here get married like rabbits having sex, okay? Like rabbits just go at it. So do Mormons, apparently. I finished my 2nd year of college, and I just got married. When did I get married? I got married almost 3 weeks ago. I wasn't super stoked about having a wedding. I didn't really want to have the ceremony because there's a lot of planning. It's really expensive. You have to invite people, and then you get gifts, and you have to send out thank you cards, which I still have to do. Hello, kitty. Crow, come back. My cat left me. My mom was really into, like, planning everything, like, because I'm the first kid in my family to get married. So my mom went full out, and she planned the wedding, and she helped figure out the guest lists and the reception place, and it ended up being really good. But the thing is like, everything that happened 2 weeks before the wedding was a total nightmare. So I've heard of, like, you know, bridezillas being all crazy about the wedding not going the way that they want. Like, oh no, I wanted these flowers, and I wanted them to be purple, but they're blue. And I'm like, you know, they're just whining about every little detail because they want the perfect wedding because it's the biggest day of their life. But I've never believed that the wedding is the biggest day of your life. It might be one of the biggest decisions you make in your life, but it's not the biggest day because there's still the future. Learn what it's going to be like to be married and have to make all those adult decisions like paying bills. Maybe if you don't have kids already, you're gonna, like, start a family with them. And I feel like that's a lot bigger than actually having the ceremony. Kitty, come here. No, Crow, come here. Come here. There he is. That's Crow. He's our cat. 2 weeks before the wedding. So we are getting married about 3 weeks after our semester ended. So it was like the winter semester, and so it ended in early April. So we were getting married April 27th. So we were about 3 weeks out, and so on the Friday, I had to fly out. So from Rexburg, Idaho to South Texas. Now, for what I have to do when I do that traveling, I have to take a shuttle that it's 4-hour drive to the airport in Utah because it has cheaper options than the tiny airport here in Rexburg. And then from Utah, I either have to fly to either Dallas or Houston of my choice, whatever ticket is cheaper usually. And then from there I'll go to my last destination. Usually always something goes wrong, always. Usually it's something small, but this, like, I guess it's a thing when you try to get married that, like, things are just going to go wrong. I don't know what it is. It's so ridiculous. So I get on the shuttle and it's just fine. We get there a couple minutes early, in fact, and then I go check in the airport and everything's perfectly fine. I get a text message and getting my first delay from my flight. And it's like, okay, that's normal. This always happens. And so it was only delayed about 15 minutes, so no biggie. So one thing about my flights, they were really cheap because they said that you couldn't bring on a carry-on. So I could bring like a backpack or a purse, but I couldn't bring a carry-on suitcase. I had to have that go into cargo and go, like, meet me at, like, the luggage, like, pickup, you know? Getting on my plane, and And I get on, it's perfectly fine, just chilling, and then, so I look, and my next flight is really soon after this flight, was like about 20 minutes. So once I get off the plane, I have to immediately go to my next gate and catch my plane, which I've done before, and it's perfectly fine, like it works, usually. But so, this time, so, you know, we get to the gate, and we come up to the gate, and we don't get off. Like, the flight attendants even tell us to sit down, and the captain is, like, not saying anything, the plane's not stopping, like, we're not even fully up to the gate. And some guy even tried, like, getting his stuff and walking up first so he could get off, because, you know, some of us need to get on our next flight, and the flight attendants are like, no, sit down! And it's like, ooh, snap. But so, like, I'm kind of freaking out now. I'm going to miss my next plane if I wait too long, if this happens, you know? And I've never missed a flight before, and I've flown a lot in my life. Here's my kitty! Here's my kitty! He's a little attention whore. So he'll, like, come up to me and snuggle, and then he'll want to play fetch. But so, I'm waiting on the plane, freaking out, and so we don't know what's going on, and then suddenly the plane starts to back up, like, driving back up. And then it, like, turns around and starts going somewhere else, and we're like, where are we going? The captain finally says something, and he goes, sorry guys, our gate was closed because it was infested with bees. Well, and so he goes, alright, well, we're going to be going to gate, C80, and I look at my next boarding ticket, and my next gate is C81. So if we get there soon enough, I could possibly make my flight. So there's like that little bit of like hope there, but it's taking so long because he's driving slowly. Like, the plane it can drive faster, but it's a plane. It's like driving a giant like bus or truck, and so like that can be really dangerous, but it's like, I could get there faster if I walked. Like, just let me run through the bees, I'll be fine. But it's just like, ugh. So we finally get there, and they're like, okay people, let others who need to get off first, but of course people don't care. First class wants to go off first, so first class gets to go off first. The woman that was sitting next to me, she was like, here, you might want to get off first, so we switched seats so that she could let me get off, because we were talking, and she was like, oh no, you're gonna miss your flight, and I was like, I know! Like, I don't have a carry-on, so I just have my backpack, so like, just scoop it up and try to go, but like, everybody like starts getting up and tries to get their luggage. It's like, no! Let the people who need to go first go! Like, you do not need to go if you have 30 minutes! Come on! I have 2! I finally get up and I'm running, and I run out, and I look left to right to see which way my gate is, and I go over and I'm like, can I like get on the flight? And they said, no man, the plane just left. The stupid thing though is the plane was actually still there, they just didn't want to bring the bridge thing back up to the door. And that pissed me off, but I didn't say anything, I started crying instead. And she's like, man, there's another plane in a few hours, like about 4 hours, and they have an open seat, would you like it? And I was like, yes, I would like it. And so she prints me a new boarding pass, and like, I'm on my way, and I'm really depressed, and now I feel like I'm in pain now. Like, I was crying, and I hate crying, I almost never cry. It just felt different, you know, like, it felt more emotional, so like, am I about to start my period? I feel like my camera's a little overexposed. Is that better? I don't know. I'm now just kind of like sluggishly walking around. I'm like, I don't know, like, I have so much time to kill, so I get out my phone and playing like Pokemon Go in the airport because there's Pokestops everywhere, so, and I'm just trying to kill time, and there's outlets everywhere, so if I need to like charge my phone, I can just sit down somewhere and just charge it, so like, no biggie. So then like, I find a Whataburger in the airport. So I'm in the Houston airport, by the way. I'm just chilling, and then I get a text message getting a gate change, actually. It's like, oh, it's changed from gate this to this, or like to gate C or whatever. I'm like, oh, well, I've been stuck in C for a while, so I guess I just won't leave here, or whatever. I don't remember exactly. So I'm just like walking around, and then I go to the bathroom because I'm starting to like feel like I have a cramp, and I check, and I started my period. And I'm like, frick, my tampons were in my carry-on, which I don't have. And so I had to I went around and I found like a little concession stand that looks like a gas station, and I had to find tampons. And I hate buying anything in the airport because it's so freaking expensive. Like, okay, so this is a box of tampons for $8. crappy quality ones. Like, you could go to Big Lots and buy these exact same thing for $2.50. A box of small, crappy quality 8 tampons. Here at the airport, it was almost $9. Oh, I was so pissed. And so I buy the tampons and I go and I shove one up and go about my way, and like, well, it can't get any worse now, can it? But so then I get a text message getting my first delay. Whatever, that's normal. But then it keeps happening and it gets later. And so my flight was originally supposed to go at 9:30, and I got there around 6. And now, like, it's at 10:30. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But, like, I keep getting more delays. And so eventually I just kind of go over there. Like, I got some ice cream later. And then, like, I go over and I start watching a movie. And I continue to get more and more delays. And I get a total of 6 delays. This plane was supposed to leave at 9:30. It's now going to leave at 2:55 a.m. And then after that delay, like, we're sitting in the airport, and one of the flight attendant dudes, stands up and goes, "Sorry guys, the plane going to Albuquerque, the plane going to Los Angeles, Las Vegas or whatever, and the one that I was going to have all been canceled. Please come up to the front desk to figure out what you're gonna do." I started crying again. I couldn't handle it. I'd never had this happen. Like, I didn't know what to expect. I've kind of heard of it happening before, but I never knew what you do. Like, I always thought it was like the Terminal movie with Tom Hanks, where he just, like, lives in the freaking terminal. So I was like, am I gonna have to sleep overnight in the terminal? So I get in line, I go up to the desk, and I'm like, hey, I was going to this flight. What do I do? And I'm on the phone with my mom too, like, so that she can make sure that I'm doing it right. And she looks up, she goes, "Oh, well, here's this thing. It has a number on it. You call it, and they'll give you a discount at the hotel." What? And they're like, "Let me look up when you can next get your next flight." And so I tell my mom, like, "Hey, they're not paying for my hotel." My mom screams at me, "The bees!" I'm like, okay, stop screaming. And so, like, my mom's saying that because of the first flight with the bees incident, they have to pay for my hotel. I don't really know how that works, but it's whatever. So I talked to the woman again before she's, like, looking up the next flight I can take. And I'm like, "Hey, sorry, my mom's screaming at me, but this wasn't my original flight. My original flight was earlier, but I missed it because a flight before that of this airline caused me to miss it because there were bees at the gate and they had to change us to a different gate, which caused me to miss my other flight, which I was redirected to this flight, which is now canceled. Does that change anything?" She goes, "Yes, it does. We'll pay for your hotel and give you food vouchers." I'm like, okay, that's good. And so she starts looking up the next flight I can take. So remember, this was Friday. So it is almost midnight of Friday, so it's almost Saturday, and she looks at me and she goes, "Sorry, the next flight you can get is on Sunday." I'm stuck in Houston until Sunday. I couldn't believe it. And I was like, oh my, I'm gonna rip my hair out. And I start, like, almost crying again. And it's like, I had to actually be home on Saturday for family pictures because my family wanted to take these last pictures of us as a family before I got married. Now I'm missing them. So there's, like, no point of taking them. And my mom already paid the photographer, and they already had, like, outfits set up. They already had an outfit for me set up. And I was like, oh my frick, so annoying. So my friend is now texting me because I Snapchatted some of the stuff that was going on, saying, like, oh, I'm stranded in Houston now, because I felt stranded. Like, yeah, I have a hotel, but, like, I'm all by myself. This has never happened to me, and I just feel very alone. I feel stranded. And so she messaged me. She's like, "Do you want me to come drive and pick you up?" Because it's a 4-hour drive. It's like a 1 hour or 45 minute to 1 hour drive or flight, but it's a 4-hour drive to where I need to go. And so she's like, "I've been stranded in Houston before too. Like, this happened to me as well. Do you want me to drive and pick you up?" And I said, yes. And I told my mom, and my mom starts freaking out. My mom doesn't really trust my friends or like me. I think it's just because, you know, we're still her kids, and like she's screaming at me, and so I hung up on her, and my mom starts trying to call me back, and I just don't answer, and like, yeah, come pick me up. I'm not dealing with this. And so she starts driving, and I decided, like, well, I have nothing because I don't have a carry-on. My carry-on had all my clothes, my brush, my toothbrush and toothpaste, my makeup. It had all that stuff. Like, the only thing I had with me, actually, was a backpack that had my laptop, my DS, my 2DS, and my phone and my wallet, with also, like, the chargers for the electronics. So that's legit all I had, and the clothes off my back. They said, like, if I wanted to go to the hotel, there was a shuttle at this one terminal, and I have to go there and I have to wait for the shuttle, but I got lost on the way. I somehow went underground and accidentally ended up into a different terminal, and I had to walk all the way back, and that was really annoying. I'm waiting, like, kind of like in an area where I would have to get the shuttle, and I'm like, maybe I can get my carry-on back. And so I go and talk to some people. I'm like, hey, is it possible for me to get my carry-on? They're like, sorry, our workers who take out that stuff have already gone home for the night, and it's probably already at your destination. So it's like, frick, what do I do? And so, like, they gave me a freshen up kit that had, like, a small deodorant stick, a toothbrush, a small thing of toothpaste, and, like, some mints and some other things. You know, I've been stuck in this airport for, like, hours. It's now actually almost, like, 1 or 2 in the morning. And so I just go into one of the bathrooms and I brush my teeth because I just felt so gross. And so I'm, like, waiting around, and then I get, like, about 20 minutes later, I get a call from my friend who's, like, gonna, like, come pick me up, and she goes, hey, my car's, one of the lights on the dashboard went off, and apparently I'm out of oil. I have to go home, and I can't pick you up. I thank her for trying, and I call back my mom, humiliated. And so I was like, okay, Mom, we'll do it your way. How am I supposed to get to the hotel? So we look up on the hotel voucher, which, like, is all in one word with all caps, so it's really hard for me to figure out what it's saying, but we figure out what hotel it is, and my mom calls them, and it's like, hey, where does she need to go? And they're like, oh, she needs to be in Terminal A or Terminal C at door 105. So one other thing is that the woman who gave me the vouchers, she said that the shuttle will pick me up at door 101. But when I went into the terminal, so there's, like, all these doors starting from 102 to 106. There's not a door labeled 101 at all. And then when my mom called the hotel, they said you needed to be at door 105. And that was like, what the heck am I supposed to do? Like, if I followed her advice, I would have missed it anyways. Oh, and one last thing is that because they have to pay for my hotel and food vouchers and I can't go out until Sunday, I'm stuck there till Saturday. She said the hotel vouchers only work for 21 hours, so I'd have to go to the hotel the next day, partway through Saturday, check out, come back to the hotel, or back to the airport, get new vouchers, and go back to the hotel, and then come back on Sunday morning. And so she put it in the system saying that I was allowed to have more vouchers, having one more hotel voucher and more food vouchers. I wait until about 3 in the morning for the shuttle to finally get there, and, like, I get on, and the hotel is overly nice. Like, when, you know how, like, you know, maybe some places kind of like a dump and you don't like being there, but some places, like, you know, it's decent, it's, like, clean, and it's nice, and it's more up to your standards, but then there's stuff that's, like, mansion and castle, and some people like that stuff, but I'm not really into it. I want something more of, like, not as big, not, like, crappy, not that, but, like, you know, in the middle. So this hotel was way too nice, and it made me slightly uncomfortable. And so that night, so, like, I check in and I go to my room, and oh my goodness, I could not sleep. I'm sleeping in my clothes from the day before because I have no other clothes. And I took a shower, and I don't have a hairbrush, so I'm trying to, like, brush my hair, like, with my fingers. And so I'm trying to sleep, but I keep waking up because my brain plays a lot of tricks on me. Like, I see things, and I'll even feel things that aren't even there, and it's really annoying. And so one thing that my brain decided to do is that I'm, like, trying to lay in bed, and I'm trying to sleep, and then suddenly I see flashlight beams come from the front door, like somebody's, like, breaking in and gonna rob me, and I just flash my eyes open, and there's nothing. So then the following morning, like, I wake up, because I got to bed, technically, around 4 o'clock, I got there about 3-something, took a shower, tried to figure things out, and got to bed at 4. So I wake up at 11, like 1 hour away from noon. And so I'm like, okay, I should probably go downstairs, or, like, go to the lobby and try to find food. So I go down. The lobby's huge, there's two different restaurant sections. So one of them is like a bar for the evening, and one of them's for lunch. The breakfast one is already closed, I guess, because it's 11. And I'm like, okay, I need to eat. And so I ask the guy at the desk, like, hey, how do I use food vouchers? And he tells me, and so I go over to the restaurant, and it looks like open seating, but there is a sign that says, like, please wait to be seated, but it's at the side, turned sort of, to where you can't really see it. Because I've worked at a restaurant before where, like, we only use the sign, like, at nights, really, like, when it's really busy. And also, there was no one waiting at the little, like, desk thing. Like, usually at restaurants, there'll be people waiting at, like, that first, like, desk that you enter, and then they'll seat you, but there was no one there, so I just sat down at, like, a near table. I sat down, and there was these two black women. Like, nothing against black people. I'm not, like, people are very overly sensitive the moment you, like, mention race, but I'm just saying it's part of the story. These two women who happen to be black, and they dressed really nicely. Like, they looked like they had money, you know, and they're, like, sitting down, they're, like, gossiping and, like, laughing as they eat, like, their lunch. And when I sat down, they both stopped, and they're, like, facing each other, and they're talking, and they go, and they just stare at me like I did something wrong. And I smile back, because I'm, like, scared. I don't, like, I'm all by myself in Houston, trying to wait till, like, Sunday to get home. So, like, I just smile and I look away, and they just stare at me, and then they look at each other and start, like, talking about me. And I just felt so humiliated. It's like, I'm wearing the clothes off my back from the other day, my hair is a complete mess, like, it's in, like, a really high ponytail. I just felt like total utter garbage, and they just made me feel like terrible, like a terrible person or something. Waitress comes up, and she only speaks Spanish, and so she's like, I'll get you another waiter, and I was like, okay, thank you. And so next waiter, he speaks English as a second language, so he has a bit of an accent, so I have to ask him to repeat himself a couple times, because I'm really bad when it comes to accents. Like, they just screw me over. But so he helps me out. He realizes that I'm really nervous, and so he's really kind to me. And when I try to tip him, he's like, no, keep the money, you probably need it. And I was like, thank you, I do. He was really nice, and then the food was really good too. Like, they had some really bomb food. And so then I go back to my room, and I get my things together, because all I have is a backpack, you know? And then I head out, and I check out, and I go to the shuttle, and I wait for it, and then I get on the shuttle, and I go to the airport, because I need to get a second voucher. You know, because the hotel vouchers only work for 21 hours. I now go to the airport, and now I have to find somebody that's going to give me the vouchers. I don't know who. Where do I go? So I ask one person, they're like, go talk to her. And I'm like, okay, and I talk to her, and she's like, go talk to them. And I'm like, who do I talk to? Oh my gosh. And I finally find the person. And this really pisses me off, because this has happened to me twice now. Like, this is the first time it happened, and then, like, 2 weeks later, it happened again. And it's like, I cannot believe you effing people, you know? So I get there, and I'm like, hi, I need a hotel voucher. And she goes, why do you need a hotel voucher? Like, kind of a rude way, too. Like, there are so many other ways, like, you can ask that, like, okay, what's your reasoning? Like, oh, did they say that you need another hotel voucher? Or, like, she's just like, why do you need a hotel voucher? I was like, because my flight got canceled. The person who gave me the hotel vouchers told me that she put in the system that I'm allowed to have another hotel voucher because I can't fly out till Sunday. And she's all like, well, where are you going? And I was like, well, I'm going to this place. And she goes, oh, I don't think they're going to give you another hotel voucher. She's not even checking the computer. She's not touching it. She's just looking at me. She just heard that last night that a lot of flights were canceled due to weather. And so she's like, your flight was canceled due to weather. I don't think they're going to give you another hotel voucher. Like, she's not even freaking checking. And that's, like, I was really timid and scared this whole time, but at this point, I'm getting my confidence back, and my blood starts to boil, and I'm about to get in a freaking fight with this woman. I'm like, ma'am, that wasn't my original flight. My flight was actually delayed because of you people. Starting to get a little bit rude now, because I'm, like, losing my crap. And so, like, my flight was delayed because of you people, and I was redirected to that flight. And it got canceled, and so now they said I can't get another flight till Sunday. And she goes, oh. And she's texted the computer in, like, 2 seconds. She's like, I can get you a flight today, actually. Which, like, was super relieved. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. And so that worked out. However, the one thing that, like, weirded me out later when I thought about it was that it's like, she didn't check to see if I was available to get another hotel voucher. Like I said, it was in the system. She just checked for open flights. Like, I get that might be a thing that, like, you know, the company's paying, like, less than $100 for you to get a hotel for one night, because the hotel was about, like, $60-something or $70. It wasn't that expensive, but it was a really nice hotel. Like, she didn't even check. She just checked for an open flight and, like, got rid of me. So, like, that kind of, like, weirded me out, instead of, like, her being like, okay, here's your hotel vouchers, but would you like me to check if there's an opening that you can have? Like, I would have honestly preferred that, because it kind of shows that, you know, she kind of cares. But this kind of like, she kind of showed me she might have been like annoyed with me, which, you know, I was getting annoyed with her because she's not doing her job right. Then I get home, but so like I called my parents. They're like, hey, I got an early flight, and they're like, great, when is it? And I was like, it's like at 4 something. They're like, we won't be able to pick you up from the airport until about 30 minutes after, because the pictures are about then. Or like the picture is about like almost an hour from that, and so we'll be taking pictures by the time you get here. I get there and I wait, and then I get to go home. And I thought that was the whole thing, you know, like, you know, you're getting married, you're gonna have like the things go wrong. I thought that was gonna be it, but it wasn't. So I go home, and so I'm supposed to have 2 different appointments on the same day on that following Tuesday. So now it's Saturday, I chill out Sunday. Monday, I help my mom go take some errands. On Tuesday, I'm supposed to get my teeth cleaned, and then afterwards I'm supposed to go to the lady doctor to get birth control, because I don't want to have kids while I'm in college. We were just talking about what kind of birth control I wanted, and I have a lot of friends like in high school who their parents allowed them to get like the arm thing, like the little like matchstick thing, and it's called like the Nexplanon, and so it lasts up to 3 years and it goes in your arm, and so it's all like sweet. So that's what I wanted to get. That morning we go to the dentist, and then I get my teeth cleaned, and they start checking for cavities. And I'm really good about not having cavities. I've had like maybe 2 cavities in my life. They check and they're like, hey, something's sticky up there. And they look and they realize some of the filling up there has fallen out. Like, it's falling out. And so they're like, hey, you need to come in tomorrow, or like whenever you can, but just like tomorrow, to get it like refilled. And it's only like a small part, it's not the whole filling, it's like a part on the side of it. Tell my mom that, and she's like, okay, we'll come back tomorrow. And so then we go to my next appointment. It's the doctor. The doctor's talking to us, and she asks about what we want, and I said like, I want the arm thing. So like, she's like, all right, well, we'll have to call you later whenever we can get that in you. And I was like, wait a minute, you can't get it in me now? And she's like, no, your insurance has to go through first, and then we can sign you up. So like, how long are you gonna be here? And I was like, well, I'm getting married next week, and then I'll be on the honeymoon and I'll be gone. She's like, oh, you need it soon then. So she's like, all right, we can get it, like, we can try to get your insurance through the next 2 or 3 days, and then we'll call you and you come in. And we're like, okay, cool. And so the next day I go into town, get my filling filled, and it only took 15 minutes, and then I get a call from the doctor's place, like, hey, we got your insurance through. I was like, it hasn't been like a full 24 hours. And I'm like, yeah, you want to come in tomorrow? And I'm like, yes. Refilled. So then on Thursday, I go in, and they put the arm thing in. She's like, all right, you can't get it wet for 3 days, which means showering was going to be really interesting, because I have to like put saran wrap over it and then like tape so that it doesn't get wet, because if it get wet, it might get infected, and then like things could happen, like maybe it wants to like try to like come out, or maybe like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Okay, so my battery died, so I had to like stop for a while and charge it a little bit, but I promise, story's almost over. The middle part, kind of like where, you know, like with the appointments, that was just really annoying, honestly, because I want to go hang out with friends. So like I was hoping that the appointments would only take, you know, like the one day, you know, the Tuesday, but it ended up taking Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I like wanted to hang out with friends, because after getting married we have to go back to Idaho, and we wouldn't be in South Texas for that long, and so I wouldn't be able to see my friends for as long as I would like, and so these appointments are taking that time out of my day where I want to go hang out with them before I have to leave, you know? The birth control gives me this incredibly large bruise, so I can still see a little bit of it, like right here. You can't really see it on camera, but it went from here to here, and it was just big. So I couldn't get in the water for 3 days. I had to saran wrap it to shower, and so by Sunday, you know, like, it's all good, and so then, like, you know, I can start swimming again, right? But like, because I want to go to the beach. Like, I can go to the beach and go walk, but I want to go get in the water. I want to go swimming. A little side note that is a big part of this, which I absolutely hated, there was something growing on the back of my leg. So on the back of my left leg, behind my, and like on the thigh part, kind of like behind my leg, there was a little zit. And so 2 months ago, it was, you know, just growing a little normal zit. Couldn't really get to it. It's not like a whitehead or anything. And so I just leave it be. But then after some weeks, I sit down and it hurts. And it's like really firm, really hard. And I go to the bathroom and it's purple. So I try to like pop it, and you know, it pops, but then it doesn't go away. And it just completely reforms. It just did not go away at all. And so I try again, but it was really hard because there's not like a whitehead or anything like to a normal zit. It's just, it feels really deep, and I can't get everything out for some reason. It got to the point where it's just, it got bigger, and it was like, maybe like, yay big. And it was getting to the point where it was starting to kind of hurt. And so my mom looks at it and she's like, you know what, it might be a staph infection. Here's some staph cream, try putting it on. So that night, or like it was like it was Saturday night and Sunday morning is when I put it on. I put it on Saturday night and Sunday morning. But when I did, I looked at it and it had gotten really red and inflamed, and it got bigger. Like not like a whole ton bigger, but it was like, you know, maybe it was like about about this big. Well, it got like bigger, got like that, and it was much larger and noticeable and very painful. On Sunday, we're going to church, and I'm trying to sit down, and it's on the part of my leg to where like it's going to hit the chair unless I like sit on the very, very edge of the chair. It hurts a lot, and I just couldn't figure out why. And like I told my mom, like, Mom, it's getting out of hand, like I need to go to a doctor, because I said before, like, Mom, I think I should go to a doctor about this because it hasn't been going away for a long time, and I tried getting rid of it twice. So that Monday, where I was living, we went to like a local doctor's office where they just have walk-ins all day. So I make the appointment, I go in and I'm waiting, and then the doctor checks in. He's like asking me questions, and I'm like, it's really painful, I thought it was a zit. And he looked at it, he's like, whoa, that looks really painful. And so he had me like change into like like a medical like apron thing, but like a disposable apron. So then like he went and had a lady doctor come in, and she took a look at it, and she said, so this is an abscess, and it might be a cyst, and we need to drain it. And so I knew what a cyst was, but I didn't know what an abscess was. I was very confused. And so she's like, would you like us to drain it today or another day? It's like, drain it today, get rid of it. I hate it. They had me lie down. I signed a paper saying that they can cut into me because it's basically like a little mini surgery. They numb me the F up. Like, I hate numbing stuff. It hurts. So like in the arm thing, they had to numb me up as well. So she like packed my arm with it, and it hurt. And so that was just like not even a whole week ago that happened, and now I'm getting more numbing stuff in my leg. And so they packed it up like all around with numbing, and oh my gosh, it burned. It hurt so badly. And they just went down to town with my leg, and then afterwards, like, she said that she couldn't find a capsule, which is what a cyst would have. So it wasn't a cyst, it was just an abscess, but I didn't know what that was until I looked it up. And the abscess is basically like an infected zit that's just really bad, and it can be deep, kind of, and it just is full of like pus and blood, so it's really gross, and you have to get a professional to drain it. And I actually had a roommate, well, it was gross, she's like, do you want me to get my knife and just like poke it open? And like I almost let her, but we forgot about it, and it's a good thing we did, because when they were done and I sat up, I looked over and there was blood everywhere, like okay, so my leg was on like a disposable mat. And when they were doing the numbing stuff, I felt something trickle down my leg. Like, they say this is my leg laying down, I felt something like trickle down it. And I was like, must be like some numbing stuff or something that like, you know, didn't fully go in, or like when they took it out, it kind of like seeped out. It was blood, I found out, because I stood up, I looked, I was like, oh, it's blood. And I looked where the paper was, and it was just soaked in my blood. And so she said there wasn't a capsule, which is what a cyst would have, because that's kind of like the little root of it that you have to get rid of. And it just had a bunch of like pus pockets, and they drained all of them. And so what they also did is that they capsuled the first part. Oh, there's a dog. Sorry. They capsuled it where they took like a test tube, and they like took a little bit in, and they kept it so they could research it to do testing to see what kind of infection was in there. And so she told me that this abscess was about a deep down into my leg. And like, I thought that was normal, but when I told other people, like I told my mom, she was like, oh, what? Like, so apparently that's not normal, or like that's pretty deep. They had to put gauze in it, and it's like this like ribbon stuff, really thin ribbon that you use to package into like the wound. So like it packaged in, and so what it's supposed to do is supposed to keep it open so it can continue to drain anything left over. and I had to keep it in for 2 days. So they said, like, you're gonna come back in 2 days, and we're gonna prescribe you some medication. So we're gonna give you the antibiotics, and you're going to want Tylenol 3. So I was like, okay. So, like, get the medication, and right afterwards, like, I went out to go Whataburger, because that's a Texas thing, to go eat with my friends, and oh my gosh, my leg. Like, after the numbing stuff left, I thought I needed crutches. Like, I was just, like, hobbling around, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't walk properly. Later we get a call from CVS, which is where I was getting my medication from, saying that it was ready, and we go and we get it. And so I take it. Later that day, you know, I start to feel a little like, actually I felt kind of normal by the end of the day, except I started to get a small headache. The next day, I start to get, like, I had the headache again, and I take the medication. I took it twice that day, because I'm supposed to take it 2 pills a day, but the headache started to come back. It started to get worse. And then I felt really gross in my stomach. And then I realized I was starting to get really nauseous, and the nausea got even worse, and then the headache got worse, and then, like, I started taking, like, I was doing, like, the 1 Tylenol every, like, 6 hours, but at one point I tried the 2, and it didn't really help. Like, the headache and the nausea were just so strong, and then the pain in my leg, like, it would throb a little bit because the gauze inside of it, you know, gauze isn't technically supposed to be in your leg, and so my leg was, like, screaming at me in pain. So that was, like, the first day, and so all day I had to lay down, and I couldn't eat anything, and I didn't know why. So then the next day, still really, like, bad nausea and bad headache, and now I have to go back and get the gauze out. And so, what day was it, actually? Because of one reason why this was so terrible to me was because this was the week where that Friday was when I was getting married. Okay, so the appointments were the week before, because I was supposed to get home 2 weeks before the wedding, so the first week was just booked up with all those appointments that just annoyed me, because I wanted to hang out with my friends before, like, I get married and have to go back to Idaho. And now the second week, like, Monday, got it drained. Tuesday, I was just in bed all day. Monday, Tuesday, so Wednesday. So this is Wednesday. So I go to the doctor to get the gauze out. And they also need to make sure that it's healing properly and that there's nothing growing back in. And so I go and I was like, hey, before you check, I really need different medication. Like, these antibiotics are making me so sick. So they then asked me, like, so what kind of antibiotics are you currently on? Well, I didn't know the word. Like, the words are, like, really long and weird. But I remember what letter it started with. So they even asked that. They're like, do you know what letter it started with? And I said S. And so they looked it up. And they're like, oh, yeah, that stuff. Yeah, most people can't really stomach it. So, like, we'll give you something else. Most people can't stomach it? Why did you prescribe it to me? If most people can't handle it. I couldn't handle it. I was stuck in bed the whole time, and I can't properly walk, and it's just a few days before my wedding, and I'm, like, freaking the F out. And so they're like, alright, we're gonna give you some new antibiotics, and we're gonna get you some nausea medicine, which, holy crap, I needed so badly. They take the gauze out, which hurt, also really hurt. So then we go over and we get the new antibiotics, which were a lot more expensive than the first ones. One thing about the hole in my leg is that it's a hole. So it's an inch deep hole. I don't think this is exactly like an inch, but it's like around that. But it is a empty hole that, like, you can look in and it just looks pink and red. So because it's just an open hole, I'm not allowed to go swimming because water can get in it, and there can be bacteria in water. And the thing about our ocean is that I think, like, last year, the year before, we actually found a flesh-eating virus that got one person or two one summer. And we have, like, there's hepatitis that can be in the ocean, and there's just some really, like, there can be some bad diseases that could get into my leg and that could cause me to get really sick, maybe die, maybe get my leg amputated. Like, it could get really bad. So I'm not allowed to swim until the hole closes. And so, me getting married in South Texas, our honeymoon was going to be on an island where it has a beach. And so that means that my whole honeymoon, I can't go swimming. I can go outside and get tan at least, but, like, can't get in the water. But so then that night, like, I throw the old medication to the side. I think I let my parents keep it so they could dispose of it later or something. And I open up the new stuff, and I take the first pill, and I go to sleep. That night, I ended up having, like, a funny dream that included him, and it included, like, a little girl. One part where, you know, he knocked over something. where he takes a pill and it makes him go fast, but in the dream, you know how sometimes you can feel stuff? Well, I started feeling like a burning sensation. And I felt it kind of like right here. And it gets so real to where I wake up and I'm still feeling it. And I realized I can't swallow very well. It's really weird, like, and the burning continues, and I realize it's not just the dream thing that's real, that's happening. And I realize it has to be the new antibiotics. Like, am I allergic to them? Is this a new side effect or something? And I grabbed my pill case, I looked up the pill it was, Googled it, and apparently one of the side effects was swollen glands. And in the picture, it showed that it can be like the tonsils or the glands down here, like about so here. And this is exactly where it felt. And so it said, like, thankfully the solution was so easy though. It's just like put like some like heating pad on it. And I was like, perfect, I have one downstairs. Grabbed one and went right back to sleep with like it right on like my neck. And the next day it was still there, but it went away throughout the day. By then, I think it was Thursday. So finally, like, and now I could start walking properly again. Like, I was limping so badly the other days before, but with the gauze taken out, my leg felt almost perfectly fine, just like it felt a little sore, but I could walk normally now. And now with the new medicine, I just had like slightly swollen glands that like really soon, like throughout the day, just went away. I no longer had a headache. I had very, very light nausea to where it just kind of like came, it like sparked up like a little bit and then just kind of disappeared every now and then. And so then the day of the wedding comes and perfectly fine. All of that bull crap for those 2 weeks, and then the wedding day, perfectly fine. Like, what even? That was my horror story of trying to get married. It all ended up completely fine, but there was just so much bull crap that just happened like in the 2 weeks right before it, like that made me really worry, like, oh no, I'm getting there too late, so I'm like missing the family photos that like we really wanted to do, have these appointments and they're being dragged out like all week. I have a freaking abscess and it makes it even more miserable. And then like the very day of the wedding, like perfectly fine. Like, it just really annoyed me, but I guess I'd rather it be that than everything going wrong during the wedding, because I feel like that's more of the nightmare. But everything just happened right before the wedding. That was a nightmare for me, like a nightmare I didn't even know I had. Yay for story time. I guess I'm gonna end the video here. I don't have a sign off, and I guess I'll see you later. Bye.